Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This comes from Edward Woodley. Hey, John, I've heard you mention that you feel that Marvel Phase 4 hasn't been able to live up to the level of previous phases in the MCU. For the most part, I actually agree with you, although I loved Loki, Wandavision, and No Way Home. I know there's no one single thing, but I was wondering if you could maybe talk about why you think Marvel hasn't quite been able to hit the heights that it did before Endgame. Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, Edward. And yeah, look, let me be clear about something here. Marvel is still king of the hill. And they have put out some things since Endgame that I have absolutely loved. Shang-Chi, obviously, I think Shang-Chi may be a top 5 Marvel film ever made, to be honest with you. Spider-Man No Way Home, WandaVision, was absolutely fantastic. Now, that being said, I will often point out that I am accustomed over the past 13 years or so to going 5 or 6 MCU projects in a row that I loved it. And they're not firing on all those cylinders right now. Because while we have a Shang-Chi and a WandaVision and a Spider-Man No Way Home, we've also had Black Widow, which I didn't mind, I liked, but I didn't super love. We had Falcon the Winter Soldier, which I liked. I do, thumbs up, but I didn't love. Loki, which I didn't love. Eternals, which I actually quite enjoy. I do quite enjoy Eternals, but I wouldn't say I super love it. Hawkeye, which I straight up just didn't like. You know, that's while for a lot of studios, hey, just having all those things that you at least still like, that's a win. But it's not quite the same extreme level of excellence that I'm accustomed to seeing coming from the MCU. And I've brought that up a number of times in the show. And so what they're asking here is, well, what do I think attributes to that? Why don't I feel like they're quite firing on all cylinders like they did? So I want us to step into the Campea classroom here for a second.
Here we go.
And talk about a couple of the reasons why I think this might be the case of what's happening. The first thing I'm going to point out is that I think maintaining that level of excellence is simply unrealistic. I think people, including myself, started to take for granted that every time, like Kevin Feige started making it look easy. And when you make something look easy for 10 years, people actually start to believe that it is easy. And it's not. Making a good movie is monumentally difficult to do. Making a good TV show is monumentally difficult to do. And so I think for people like me who are just kind of now expect Marvel to be a 10 out of 10 every time they come out of the gate, that's just unrealistic. So you can't keep up that pace. You just can't keep it up. That's unrealistic. The fact that they're still putting out good content is incredible in and of itself, even if it's not super great. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing I want to mention is that not all new characters will endear themselves to the audience. I mean, when Marvel was first getting going, they were taking for Marvel the more sure path. You start with, Captain America. You start with Thor, Iron Man, even though Iron Man was kind of a B-level character but when they first got going, but they started off with characters that they felt would have, number one, more recognizability with the audience, number two, have a bigger chance of being more endeared to the audience. Now Marvel is rolling the dice some more. And when you roll the dice, it's not always going to come up 7, right? When you roll the dice and take chances, which is what we want our filmmakers to do, that means sometimes it's not going to work, right? So you're going to get some characters that the audience will love and endear themselves to, like a Shang-Chi. You're going to get some characters, like maybe some of the characters in Eternals, that the audience doesn't attach to nearly as much. So that's one of the things.
That rolling a 7 was a craps reference for all of you out there that were like, huh?
What does that mean? Yeah, by the way, interesting note.
I wasn't going to call you out on it, but I was also like,
I've never played craps. I don't even know how to play. I just know rolling 7 is good, right? Oh. Is rolling 7 good?
I just was about to be like, what do they
That's
teach
what everybody
math
gets
in Canada?
I should stick to poker analogies. I should stick to the things I know about more of. Okay, third thing is this, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree, but I can put this out here. Lack of Steve and Tony. The reality is this. The MCU has had, for over a decade, 2 faces that were the de facto leaders of the cinematic universe. And that was Captain America, Steve Rogers, and Iron Man, Tony Stark. These two characters are the ones most beloved by the audience, most recognized as being part of the franchise, the leaders of the franchise. And in one movie, that was the end of them. They'll both be back. Give it 3-4 years. They'll be back. But they're suddenly gone. Imagine Seinfeld. You're watching Seinfeld, and all of a sudden, Seinfeld and Elaine leave the show.
Oh, I'm not watching that.
It's not that we don't like the other characters. It's just that was the heart of the show.
George.
Right. Or Family Ties. Go back to Family Ties, and all of a sudden Michael Keaton and the mom leave the show. Or Breaking Bad, and all of a sudden Walter White and
Jesse
Pinkman aren't there.
Well, that's no show.
Then it's right. And that's the MCU has been really the Tony and Steve show. And I don't think we here on this show and in other outlets and other fan groups as well have really talked enough about the fact that has had a real impact, I think, on how familiar the MCU feels now. So I think that's one of the things. Now, that's not a hurdle you can't overcome, but it is a hurdle, and it's going to be a challenge. The next thing is this I want to say. The lack of Chris and Robert. It's not just Steve Rogers and Tony Stark. Your two main stars aren't there anymore. Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., who, if Tony and Steve were the faces of the MCU on the screen, Chris and Robert Downey Jr. have been the faces of the MCU off the screen. They're your main stars. Everybody loves these guys, right? The whole MCU started with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. And so that's a difficult thing to overcome. So I think that has something to do with it. But my fifth point here, which I think is the main one, and those of you who watch the show know I'm going to say this, the sheer number of projects. Listen, if you're going to produce 3 things a year, and you can pour all your creativity, all your love, all your passion, all your pain. I'm reciting the speech that the trainer gives Rocky in Rocky IV as he goes out to fight Drago. All your love, all your pain. Yeah, if you're going to pour all of that into 3 projects, those 3 projects are going to benefit from that. You got 30 good ideas? That means each one of those projects is, whether it's a good idea of a storyline, a character arc, whatever, each one of those movies is going to be the beneficiary of 10 of those great ideas. Now you're doing 9 projects a year. Now your love, passion, creativity is divided even more. And eventually and ultimately, that will have an effect. And now you can say, Kevin Feige doesn't have to do it all. He can delegate. Yeah, that's my point. Marvel got to this point because Kevin Feige was direct, hands-on, overseeing every little thing. He can't do that now with 9 projects. He does on a more meta level, but now other people are involved and stuff like that. And I'm just saying that doesn't mean it can't work and that it won't get back to its days of glory. It probably will. It just means that it's going to be a little bit more challenging when you're trying to produce that much content. There's only so much of you to go around. Ray?
I just want to say that there's only one word that will turn everything around. Wait for Blade. Come on. No one's on the Blade train.
I'm very hyped.
I think, I'm very hyped for Blade, but I'm also a little bit concerned about their attention being so divided. Mm-hmm. How much love, consideration, passion are they going to give that movie? And because I was really looking forward to Moon Knight. I mean, Rob got me excited for it, so right? And I liked Moon Knight. I liked it. But I didn't super love it, but I liked it. So I don't know. These are the things that I see. So maintaining that level of excellence is unrealistic. Number 2, not all characters will endear themselves to audience. Number 3, the lack of Steve and Tony. Number 4, the lack of Chris and Robert. Number 5, the sheer number of projects. Again, these are not pits. These are hurdles. Mm-hmm. And they can overcome them. But that's the challenge they're facing. That's why I don't think I've quite loved Phase 4 as much as I loved everything at Endgame and previous. Guys, we want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. You know, the one with the delightful ads with good Canadian kid Ryan Reynolds. So look, after years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't a catch. And guys, that's no joke, because for years I've been using one of the major providers and it was fine. But I switched over to Mint Mobile a little while ago. The service has been fantastic. And the big difference is I'm now paying about 1/3 of what I was paying before. And the best part for anybody who just hates their phone bills is that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. Anyway, Chris, we've talked a lot about this, about, it just doesn't seem like while the MCU is still doing great, it doesn't just seem to have that same level of excellence it's had. What do you attribute that to? Are there any of the ones that I mentioned that really stand out? Are there any ones that I didn't mention that you think should be mentioned? What do you think?
I mean, I think the overall thing here is that it's change, right? And we're not used to change, and we don't like change when it first happens. We fear what we don't know, and we don't like it if we don't understand it in the moment. So I think part of the issue right now, too, is we're having a lack of familiarity and trying to bank on a few of the other characters who we've had in the waiting in the wings, right, to come center stage and fill these voids. And I don't think that's the right approach, right? I don't think we should take somebody who's already been part of the team and try to make them our new Steve or try to make them our new Tony, right?
Right.
I think we should treat all the characters on their own merit and introduce new characters and hope that they kind of become so beloved and everything. I want to talk about something Phase 4 is doing right, though, because one of my great, great acting mentors told me the best advice ever. It's the easiest advice in the world and the hardest advice in the world. Do more of what works, less of what doesn't. So easy, right? All you got to do. What Phase 4 is doing right more often than not is dealing with the villain problem that the MCU has been fraught with since the very beginning. Right. And we are now finally seeing, not in everything, but in Shang-Chi, in Doctor Strange, we are finally getting, in Spider-Man, we are getting villains who are multifaceted.
They're pouring more attention into the villains now.
We're giving them so much more to work with. They're not mustache twirling. And Thanos was a great villain too, right? But we are giving them their own agency and ideology that we can understand, sympathize with, and sometimes agree with. And also, it is our hero's job to help save the villain as well, because they don't see them necessarily as inherent evils. They see them as another human being, another alien, another being that still could be saved and is worthy of redemption. And I think that is much more fascinating storytelling than some of the world domination things that
Wanda.
we've seen. Yeah. She's so compelling. And I don't want to get into too many spoilers or things, but a lot of the ways that these villains have been taken down is by putting a mirror in front of them and saying, look at what you've become. In so many of these stories, you've lost your way. You've become so far removed from what you wanted initially. And I think Phase 4 is really doing a good job with that and should lean more into that. And I'm interested to see if they do that with villains like Kang, if they do that with other folks that we're seeing, if we see this with Gore maybe even, because Gore already just from the comics is a villain that, we can sympathize with somebody who was
born out of pain.
Born out of pain, lost so much, had a whole family and society devoted to a god that did not do him justice in his mind. That's so compelling. And I think if Phase 4 really, really leans into that, then we're going to turn the tide here.
Aaron, you heard my list about things about why maybe it's not firing on all cylinders like I'm used to, but did any of these stand out to you, or do you have any other theories about maybe why that is?
Well, the thing for me that's been, I guess, not necessarily problematic, but that doesn't make it feel as cohesive as it once was, is the fact that it's not as cohesive as it once was.
Right.
In that before we had the individual Avengers, they all had their origin stories, but they all came together and we saw them together. We saw how they were part of a cinematic universe. We heard MCU and we were like, oh, there's the MCU. They all live together. And now we're getting these individual stories, which are fantastic, because one of the things that I loved about Moon Knight was getting to explore this new world, or not new world.
New area of the
fucking
world.
Egypt.
Yeah.
It's not new at all. I'm like, what's this new planet called Egypt? No, obviously, an area of the world that I was unfamiliar with within the context of this, comic book character that I was also getting to know for the first time. And so while that individually is exciting, the thing that makes it a little discombobulated for me is going, okay, but how does this fit into the universe? And in each of these different in the shows, in the movies, we're having these major events happen in massive global cities that you would think would have some sort of effect on other major global cities, and yet they're barely even referenced. When in Eternals, we're having characters in London, and then we're having also things happening in Moon Knight in London, but there's no reference to certain major global events.
How did a planet-sized being appear over the world and nobody's mentioned it in any other series so far?
Right.
At all.
That's the kind of stuff that makes me go, okay, well then what kind of universe is this really? I mean, and it almost makes me go, hey, why don't we just drop MCU from it and make it easier on ourselves and just go, hey, we're just going to do a bunch of Marvel stuff and make a bunch of Marvel shows, and they don't have to all exist on the same planet. I mean, and I also understand that Kevin Feige probably has, they've mapped this out in a way that in phase 5 is all going to come together with some beautiful blue Tiffany bow, and it's all going to make sense. But right now, it just, I believe it was a Collider article that I was reading that gave a perfect analogy. It just seems like the puzzle pieces have all been dropped on the table, but we don't see how they're all going to fit together yet. Some of them haven't even been flipped over. So it's like right now there's just a whole lot of puzzle pieces and not all of them are fitting together.
All right, guys. Question is for you. How do you feel about this? I mean, by the way, maybe you feel that the MCU Phase 4 is the best they've ever done. Like there's a lot of stuff to like about Phase 4. Maybe you think they are firing on all cylinders. Maybe you're like me and feeling like, yeah, they're still doing great, but it's not quite at that same level. Do you have theories why maybe we feel that way? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave us your thoughts.